You're getting replies, maybe even half decent ones, but you're not turning them into meetings, and especially not into deals, unfortunately. What's the problem? Well, it's not your cold email's fault, it's your positionings. If you're just gonna send out the same email like everybody else, I'm gonna help you get clients, I'm gonna help you get leads, it's just gonna look like everybody else's messaging. So in this video, I'll show you exactly the full breakdown that we use ourselves to book ourselves 300 plus sales calls every single month, and just by implementing a simple change of positioning. So let's go. Okay, so the point of this, you're getting replies, but your calendar is still very much so empty, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can fix it. But the harsh truth before we get into it, if you're getting 3 to 6% replies and you're still not booking 30 to 50 calls a month, the problem is it's not your reply rate that's the problem, but you have a conversion problem, right? Replies and getting them is just the first step. A lot of people are good at building lists and they write decent copy, they get solid replies, but the meetings, they're just not there. They're not showing up on the calendar. So if you're wondering why someone else with nearly an identical offer is getting 10 times as many calls as you, I'm going to show you in this video so you can understand what they're doing different to you. Okay. This isn't about magic copy. It's about volume hacking, and it's about building high output conversion systems on the back of your cold email. And don't worry, I'll just break everything down for you in this video. But first of all, like, who am I to even talk about this in the first place? So here are some receipts from the past 90 days that we have generated in terms of meetings. As you can see, this is from Calendly, and this is one of our reps. And this is my personal calendar just to get started with. Okay, so the 3 real levers for booking massive volume, I would say these are the most important. If you can grasp these concepts, you're not going to have any problems booking hundreds and hundreds of calls each month. So after sending over 100 million cold emails and studying the highest performing cold outreach ops, these are really the 3 key pillars that make or break your ability to flood your calendar. So your total addressable market, so that's going to be your TAM, like how many people can you reach out to realistically and how many people are within your ICP. Okay, so if you're reaching out to roofers in the state of California, how many roofers are there in California? 20,000, 30,000, I have no idea. You're going to have to do your research, and that's going to be your TAM. So just figure out the total addressable market. Okay, message market fit. So this is quite a good term. Obviously, like everybody knows, product market fit. This is a derivative of that. It's just basically like whether or not your message is fit for the right market. So you're hitting the right pain points. Say again, if you're targeting roofers in California, what do they most often struggle with, right? They have plenty of job opportunity, but they struggle to keep, everyone engaged and booking in those qualified leads into their calendar, right? As far as I know, that's their, most common pain point. So if you can just address that in your messaging, so if your message fits the market, right, it fits the roofer's needs, then you're not going to have any problems. So positioning and offer framing. And by the way, if you nail all these, you'll be able to book hundreds of calls. Though if you miss one of them, everything just might flop. So next is the data. It doesn't lie. And yeah, it does not. Just let's look at 2 scenarios. And let's just break down the math. I'll bring out the purple crayons for you. So scenario A, okay, let's say you're pretty good at cold email. You're booking about 20%, you have a 20% positive reply rate and 4% response rate. Okay, so in order to get 300 calls a month, what you would need is send 190,000 emails. By the way, that's about like $75 in inbox cost. If you want to do it through Outlook, if you're interested in that, just check the first link in the description and I'm happy to have a chat with you and explain. If you want to book 300 calls a month with these stats, if you're decent, you're going to have 190,000 emails sent each month, which is roughly going to get net you 7,600 replies. Okay. And roughly you're going to get 1,500 positive ones. And out of those, roughly give or take 300 book calls. If you take 70% show up into the count, it's about 215 calls. Right. Okay. So that's generally going to require you 9,000 sent each day, which is bad. Scenario B, let's say you're a little bit worse, you're an average cold emailer. Let's say you get 2% replies, 10% positive and 20% booking rate. So to hit the same 300 calls a month, you're going to need to send out 750,000 emails per month. That's about like $300 worth of inbox cost a month. Again, if you're wondering, it's the first link in the description. It's quite simple. If you want to just talk to me about it, there it is. Okay, so again, same scenario. Let's say 70% show up, but you're going to need to send 35,000 a day, which is still not bad. But say I don't have this scenario written up here, but we could just do the math. Let's say you're really bad at cold email. Okay, let's say scenario C, you're getting 1% reply rate, with a 5% positive reply rate. This is really, really bad, okay? So in order to book the same 300 calls a month, what would you need to do to hit, again, these 300 numbers? Okay, so in this case, what you would need to do is you would need to send, well, it's going to be a little bit much for most people, but you're going to need to send 3 million emails a month. That's about, let's say, I think it's just about like a $1,000 in inbox cost if you just want to get it from the source. And again, like same thing's going to apply, right? But if we like obviously divide like 3 million by say 25, if we're sending as well on, you know, weekdays plus Saturday, which you can if your market allows it, you're going to need to send 120,000 emails every single day for those days. But like still, if you compare this, like 3 million emails a month, like you might be saying like, okay, how can I achieve this? And I'll explain down below. But like, if you just want to break it down, like worst case scenario, right? Like you're going to need to send 3 million emails a month, which is, I mean, not that much in terms of inbox cost compared to the amount that you are, you know, capable to make. So let's say, again, like these are all doable, right? Like this one is obviously way cheaper. This one is a little bit cheaper as well. And this one is the most expensive. But obviously, like if you want to go with the source, this is going to cost you like tens of thousands of dollars. But that's not the point. The point is the big unlock here is volume can compensate for the inefficiency if your margins can handle it. And a lot of people are saying like optimize. That's good, that's all good, but you want to scale up something that is working, right? And I'll show you exactly like what I mean by that, like what is working, right? Because obviously you don't want to scale up something that is 1% reply rate and is getting you very, very low positive reply rates. Okay, so I'm just saying like all of these are doable. Like one is way cheaper, but if your package is 4K, let's say, and you convert just 10% of those 215 live sales calls, it's gonna net you 21 clients. So it's gonna be $86,000, which is gonna be a even like worst case scenario, an 86 ROI. So if you take a look at it into everything else, like obviously, you know, you're gonna have to source the leads. The leads are quite expensive. You're gonna have to source the cleaning tool, which is, you know, can get quite expensive at 3 million emails a month if you don't have your own. And by the way, if you're wondering how to do it, again, first link, usually I always explain. And obviously, like if you want to save money on sequencing costs, because not a single sequencer I know is going to allow you to send 3 million emails a month. That is like under like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. So I mean, even if you say like, if you spend like a total like 5K on this, that's still like a 15x ROI. So that is very, 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 very good. The major difference, again, like we covered the two differences between inbox types, quality and pricing and all of this. So there's really no excuse not to make it. And you can see the price transparently, but most people are trying to optimize, again, before they scale. I mean, just do the math, right? Like run the math, scale what already works, and then just worry about optimizing. Because yeah, optimizing is great. So if you've seen my video on how to get 10% reply rates, that's awesome. But, you know, that's a little bit more complex than what I'm showing you here today. And that's something, you know, that takes a lot of time, I would say, to master and crack. But like doing just more volume is going to work right out of the gate, right? But if you can like obviously like optimize the reply rates, this is a massive difference. Like this is what I'm talking about in the previous video about 6 to 10% reply rates. But this is just going to be about basically like targeting volume and how you can leverage volume in combination with what I talked about in the previous video. So, I mean, even if you're just watching this video, you're going to be able to achieve this. But, you know, if you want to watch the other ones, it's going to help you secure basically this, no problem at scale. All right, so the TAM myth, why most people will never scale, and it's just quite funny. You cannot book 300 calls a month if your whole market is only 50,000 people, right? Especially if you're going to want to send 3 million cold emails a month. So minimum TAM requirements, let's say. So if you want to send 200,000 a month, your TAM needs to be at least 600K. If you want to send 1 million a month, your TAM needs to be at least 3 million. Okay, so why do I say this? The reason is very, very simple, right? Because if you want to send 1 million emails a month, what you will need is basically, if you're doing like 3 email sequence, right? Which means just, you know, 1 initial email and then 2 follow-ups. Okay, if you want to send 1 million email a month, all you would need to do is just, you know, divide this by 3, which is going to be roughly about like 333K, right? Why? This is how many leads you're going to need, because, you know, you're going to send 3 emails to every single person. So times that again by 3, and then you have your million. So the reason I'm saying is you need 3 times as many as you're sending out monthly is because you're going to be able to recycle those leads every single 3 months that occurs, because you can reheat the list with a new angle just basically every 90 days, and people are not going to know, right? Like obviously, like put out the people who you already booked calls with or not closed in general. Like you could either which, and that's it. Like that's it. You can send to the new people again. That's quite simple. Okay, so I'm gonna give you big TAM industries that you can hit and leverage. If you already have your niches, that's all cool, but if you don't, here's just some examples that you can take. And if you already have your niche, don't worry, I'm going to get specifically into that as well in terms of vertical expansion, horizontal expansion, how you can expand and get more leads out of your existing ICP. Okay, so first of all is SaaS. It's quite explanatory. There's a ton of SaaS companies: fintech, healthcare, real estate, ad tech, legal tech, insurance, HR tech, hospitality, travel, logistics, supply chain, right? Like manufacturing, cybersecurity, e-learning, a whole bunch of these. These are just a few I wanted to name. How you can expand your TAM. So I mentioned this briefly, but there's really two ways you can do it, and both are equally as effective. One I would say is better in terms of volume, which is going to be horizontal, obviously, and one is going to better in terms of like securing higher quality deals, which is going to be vertical. I'll explain both. Do not worry a bit. So vertical expansion, what does that mean? So basically this means just going up market, right? Like think about it like this. I'm going to give you quite a few examples. So if you don't grasp the concept just yet, don't worry, you will maybe by the second or third of the example. Just think about it like this. Let's say we're going up vertically in our TAM, and our ICP originally is freelancers. Okay, so freelancers are quite low tier in terms of like they don't make much money usually, and there's quite a few of them. There's a lot of third world country people who are freelancers. I would say like more like half of them are from third world countries who don't have much to pay you in terms of services. So usually it's not a lucrative niche. Okay, but if you want to go up market, you can target agencies. So what does that mean, right? It is pretty much just going up a tier and up a tier and up a tier, and that's the whole point of this. So just going from freelancers to agencies who have more money, more spending power, they're more established, and they have bigger teams. Same thing with going from agencies to funded startups. They're bigger teams usually. And then finally, obviously going to enterprise, like, you know, that's the biggest companies out there. Just think about it like this. It's going from the bottom of the market to the top of the market. Just again, a few more examples: real estate, broker, developer, property management, institutional investors. Next, we have contractors, building suppliers, architects, engineering firms, and finally, developers, right? Let's say another one: tutors, online academic, corporate L&D teams, government edtech contracts. Another one: nutrition coaches, supplement brands, functional clinics, wellness SaaS, insurance agents, commercial insurance, risk management consultants, enterprise compliance firms, e-com brands, 3PL providers, white label manufacturers, retail chains, and private equity buyers. This is a whole bunch of these to name. These are just like 6 or 7 examples I came up with. You can find your own based on this if you don't see yours listed here, but that's the whole point. Okay, next is horizontal expansion. This is a little bit different. So instead of going up market, we're going to go horizontally, right? Makes sense. So these are adjacent markets. They have pretty much the same problems, but new buyers. So think about it like this. Okay, so if you're targeting SaaS companies, you can most likely sell to CRM companies, help desk companies, MarTech companies, and Rev platforms. Again, just instead of like going vertically, we're going to go adjacent. So just basically like similar markets. So again, if you're selling to SaaS, or if you're selling to software companies, you most likely are going to be able to sell to, again, like help desk companies, SaaS companies, B2B SaaS, all of this. So that's the whole point. Okay, so another example: lead gen, SEO, content, social, paid ads, right? Like all of these are adjacent markets. Marketing agencies, there's a whole bunch of them. Email agencies, cold outreach consultants, LinkedIn DM ops, partner channels, coaches, info products, mastermind hosts, summit organizers, accounting firms, CFO as a service, mergers and acquisition advisory, tax optimization startups, freight brokers, supply chain SaaS, importers, last mile logistic providers, career coaches, resume writers, tech boot camps, outplacement firms, right? And just some lead source tag that you can use. And by the way, this is not an extensive list. The extensive list is in the other video. So again, I keep mentioning that, but I did not want to put like too many overlapping information, but this is just sort of a stack you can get started with. But if you need more information, you want to see all like the lead databases that we have tested personally throughout like 3, 4, 5 years, then you can just click there and just see the ones we recommend to use. But basically, like, these are quite fine, like LinkedIn, SalesNav, Apollo, Play, ZoomInfo, though don't recommend it. If you can get a cheap license, then fine. Crunchbase, and just a few more. Okay, so validation tip: don't just count companies, multiply TAM by the average of ICP and decision makers, right? So what does that mean? Okay, so just think about it like this. Okay, so you have your ICP. Let's say you have your TAM, right? So TAM is like 200,000. Okay, that's 200,000 companies, but each company has multiple decision makers you can reach out to, and every single one of them can be targeted with a different segment and a different positioning. So this is what the document is about. So just like, let's say on average, there's 200,000 companies and there's 5 decision makers you can reach out to. So okay, 200,000 times 5, there you have your million total TAM. So this is what I mean by this. Let's go into message market fit. What actually gets people to book? Just because someone replies doesn't mean that they're ready to meet with you yet. Okay, so the difference is in the angle, the message that touches the right pain point with the right tones. That's what message market fit is. You can't just say we do lead gen to 10 different industries, because it's not going to work, right? Like each specific industry has their own pain points, right? Okay, like for example, marketing agencies are struggling with something else than SEO companies or just roofers in general. For example, marketing agencies might have a problem with churn. You can target that specific pain point. So here's a formula you can use. So market message fit, right pain point, right language, and right timing. It's really, really simple as that. So each avatar needs tailored angles, specific problem or outcome, industry native language, frame benefit that matters to them and not you. And you might be wondering like, oh, okay, this sounds like a whole lot of work. But it doesn't have to be. You can just use a dream avatar cheat sheet that I've created for you and just basically like put in the information that you want for each specific prospect. Okay, so here's 2 prompts you can use. There's one that's going to research your TAM, and there's one that is going to generate customer profile for you. Again, it's quite self-explanatory. You can just copy and paste this and just change the things that you want. There's always a guide to do it. Like for example, like, okay, role, you want to change the role, experience, you want to change the experience, and task, you want to change the task. And finally here, there's 3 prompts. So number 1, we talked about, this is going to be the Upmarket identifier. So this prompt number 1 is going to help you find market deals, and you can put here your offer, you can put here industry, and everything else is going to do it for you. Now, if you need horizontal expansion, you're going to do the same. You're going to insert your offer, and that's pretty much it. It's going to find adjacent markets for you, very, very simply. And finally, this is the message market fit model. So just include 5 to 10 industries, which you found from the previous prompts, and then just include what your offer is. And then it's going to give you a very, very nice message market fit message for all of them. Or obviously you can do it on your own, but this document should help you quite a lot with it. Okay, so with this, you're going to be able to create install like 5 to 6 avatars, and that's going to save you a ton and a ton and ton of time. So now to test them. All right, reading Reddit, Quora, Slacks, and just basically doing a whole bunch of market research. Why is this important, right? Like you obviously want to know everything that you can about your prospects before just jumping in, and you want to make sure you verify those pain points and everything before you just jump in with your campaigns. Like obviously, like most of the heavy lifting is going to be done by GPT or Claude or any of the language models that you use to do the research, but it's always nice to verify on your own. Also, there's AI and software that you can do, which just basically like scrapes Reddit, Quora, and Slack forums, which is going to pull back the information for you, so you don't even really need to worry about that in the first place. Let's go into examples for message market fit on different structures. So for SaaS, most seed stage SaaS founders think they need outbound leads. What they really need is market validation at scale. DTC ecom, you don't need another ad channel. You need a way to fix 22% CVR drop off between click and checkout. Okay, so service providers, most consultants aren't underpaid. They're underpositioned, framed as a pair of hands instead of a growth partner. Agencies, you don't need more clients. You need more leverage, retainers, rev share, or equity to do the same work. I'll go into copy as well in a bit, but there's quite a common theme with this. Like obviously, if you are, again, like what I mentioned in the beginning of this document, if you're sending the same message to everybody else, you're going to look like just like everybody else. But if you frame things differently, like again, like if you're targeting agencies, if you say you don't need more clients, instead of saying like, hey, I can get you more clients, if you can find a way to, make a message like this, you're going to do a lot better. Like, they obviously need more retainers, less churn, more equity for doing the same work, and more leverage, right? Like, obviously, those are angles not many people are targeting. So, you got to break down into first principles, then you can get a very, very nice solid positioning going. Okay, so copy frameworks that stick. So you can use this framework. Again, I explained more of this on how to write copy in the previous document. So this is more about just like scaling this up. But basically, you got to start off with an open observation of their pain points. So, for example, saw you're hiring BDRs, which just helps SaaS company replace theirs with outbound automation. Speak their language, avoid buzzwords, use terms from their job posting, forums, communities. Make it benefit forward. Focus on their outcome over their input. Okay, so booked 41 calls in 21 days over AI power lead gen. Okay. Call to action should feel casual and not pushy. So just can I show you in 3 minutes if it's worth your time? So if you combine all of this, you can have quite a decent copy. Let's go into positioning, the high value client magnet. So tactics get attention, positioning closes deals. So what is positioning? I've talked about this quite extensively, but positioning is basically what you represent in the mind of the prospect. So how you act, how you represent yourself. And most people position themselves as just a service provider. Great closers position themselves as strategic growth levers, profit unlockers, risk reducers. Like, for example, you could position yourself differently just by changing a few things. Instead of saying lead gen, you could say growth partner, pipeline as a service, automation setup, AI revenue infrastructure, cold email, revenue engine implementation, copywriter, conversion system consultant, right? VA agency, workflow architect, paid ads, scalable acquisition stack. Okay, so just think about like unique ways to position yourself, even if you're doing the same thing. How to develop magnetic positioning. And by the way, like, most of your competitors are crushing it, not because they're selling a different service, is because they position themselves differently. Like, instead of saying again, like, hey, we do Facebook paid ads, we provide you a scalable acquisition stack for XYZ, right? It sounds a lot more unique, and it just drives the intrigue, and people are going to be that much more inclined to just read on, and then you can explain further on your offer. Okay, how to develop magnetic positioning. I'm going to show a few examples that work really well. So for example, diagnosing their business like a doctor. If you think about it, like, if you go to the doctor, you don't necessarily know like what is the root cause of the problem. So you're just gonna go to the doctor and like, hey, I have XYZ that is bothering me, right? I have pain in here, but you don't know what exactly went wrong, and the doctor is gonna diagnose you. So that's what you want to do in terms of their business as well. Like, here's what's broken, here's a treatment plan. That's what you want to offer them. Like, that's what doctors do. Like, they diagnose you, they know exactly, based on what you told them, like, what is the problem, and they give you a treatment. Show how you're different in model, not just promise. We're not an agency. We install systems and train your ops to run them. Make your vehicle non-commoditized. Everybody runs ads. Not everybody does it with a compensation structure tied to the pipeline. Something you can think about. Okay, layer in niche mastery. We only do this for XICP. Every system, every script, every asset is already battle tested for your vertical. Okay, good example is our AgTech company, CropReach, right? Like, we specifically focus on AgTech, right? That's really what we write the copy for, what we write the training for, what we do the strategy for, the scripts, the systems, and the assets are all for AgTech. And if you think about it, it is just going to be that much easier for us to convince someone who is working in AgTech or ICP to sell to them, because everything that we do is within this niche market. So if you're just, serving everyone, that is not going to be as attractive to someone who's just doing one thing. Like, again, if they're in AgTech, if we say we can basically help anyone with marketing, that's not going to drive them. It's not going to drive the ball home as much as us saying like, hey, we are specifically focused on AgTech. That's the only thing we do, right? Like, there's a major difference. Obviously, if you just pick one niche, like a small one that is like, for example, like AgTech, that really goes against what I'm saying here in terms of TAM. So with AgTech, we're not booking hundreds of calls, though we're booking few calls every single week, but those are with obviously like higher budget decision makers. And obviously you don't need to book 300 calls a month to do well and make these kind of numbers, because we didn't either with that. It depends on the industry, right, as well. So this is just an easier way to do it and position yourself. Like it's much more easy to get a volume of calls than higher quality calls. So that's why I'm giving that as an example. It's not always black and white, and there's multiple ways to go about this, but that's just one of the ways I recommend you to start off with and just easily book hundreds of calls. It's what I'm showing you in this document. Okay, so next, let's get back to this. Finally, just speak their long-term goals. So example, we could help growth stage SaaS scale Outbound with built infrastructure to survive Series B due diligence. That's a problem they have with raising money. Okay, your system to test and optimize and finally scale. So most people get stuck here, not because the system is broken, but because they're doing it alone at this kind of level. It's basically impossible. So if you want to shortcut months of trial and error, we already built this inside Scaling Room. So all the tools, the scripts, the assets, everything is pre-built and battle tested. You can run it yourself inside the Citadel, basically copy paste our entire system stack, or plug it into your team through our one-on-one help through the inner circle. Anyway, if you're going to figure this out yourself, just continue to watch on. Basically, step-by-step workflow to this is, number one, just build a segmented list, what we talked about. So 5 to 10 avatars. So again, just come back to here if you've not already done so. I recommend pausing the video at each specific stage and continuing to watch on. It's here is the sheet, or you can just write it on your own. Next, identify 3 to 5 new angles, which is going to help you with the doc as well. Test each angle with at least 2,000 emails. You can do with minimum 500 to 1,000, which was what I mentioned in the previous document. But I recommend, again, if you're doing volume, do at least 2K emails per angle. And then you have a decent data stack. Okay, track your reply, positive, and finally booking funnel per angle. Double down on the top performers, rinse and repeat, and retest everything every 90 days with new angles. So again, like you can reuse the same leads every 90 days. Just make sure you re-clean them because a few of them are going to fall out. It's not going to be very expensive because 95%, even like 98% of the leads are going to be same. And you usually only pay for the leads that are not safe, right? For example, if you run it started in Jan and you want to rerun the campaign in April, then you need to re-clean the leads because a lot of leads possibly have dropped off. So it's very important. Okay, so what to watch out for? Less than 2% reply rate, bad angle, or bad leads. 2 to 5% reply rate, below positive reply rate. You have a weak call to action or just basically unclear value. Good positive but low book. It means bad reply handling or just weak scheduling flow. You can obviously create your own tracker, but if you want to just use ours, I talked about this like many times on this channel. We give this to you for absolutely free. This is something from our Citadel program. So this is one of the trinkets that we share with you. Is basically you can just copy our outbound tracker for what we're doing. And basically it's like this. There's a master tracker and you can come here to, for example, LinkedIn. You can come here to email. You can come here to whatever you want. And you can track specific months and how they perform, how many people you reached out to, how many were interested, how many booked a call, and finding the conversions between each stage. So for example, this is how it looks. Let's go into one that has data. Again, this is just some dummy data. This is how many outreach you did. This is again like how many people you reached out to, how many interested, how many booking link, and how many booked. You can see the conversions here. And you can just put in the people that were interested. You can send them, okay, pitch sent, and it's going to track it here for you. And finally, just click follow up sequence. You can do this via email. Cannot really do it with social media. So that's why it's like manual, unfortunately, but just get an appointment setter to do it and you're going to save yourself a lot of time and hassle. But again, like if someone moves from interested to booking link, just move them here. If they move from booking link to, again, if you send them the link for the booking, the follow-up sequence started, but they haven't booked yet, the follow-ups are there to make sure that they book. So this is basically like a breakdown of what the follow-up sequence is. We usually do like 7 follow-ups, and ultimately the goal is to obviously get them onto book a call, and that you can track. And finally, just go back to dashboard and you can see everything, like how it's performing, and even come back here and see everything else very nicely, very neatly here in front of you. Okay, so that is basically Outbound as a conversion system. I'm not going to dive deeper into any of this because we already covered this many times, but if you need more help, again, first link in the description. Okay, let's go. Angle deployment tips. Don't test everything at once. This is very important. I usually mention this multiple times. Stagger campaigns to isolate variables. So what I mean by this is if you're testing multiple things at the same time, you're not going to know which change was beneficial. Like, for example, you could be changing the call to action. Okay, let's say change one was the CTA. Change two, you tweak the offer. And these are big changes. Like, for example, let's say the call to action is really good. It's bringing positive change, but the offer is slightly worse than the one previously had. But, you know, if you combine them, you're still going to have a net positive, but you don't know that the call to action decreased it or the offer did. You just see a net positive. But if you break it down, like, you can see, like, if you test like this isolated variable one time, the call to action, you can see, okay, this performed really well, I'm going to keep it. But you test the offer and you see a decrease in conversion, then obviously, you know, the offer change was not good. And, you know, this is how you test this, basically like 1 week at a time, or, you know, if you're doing good volume, you can test a much faster. So this is why I avoid testing multiple things at the same time. Obviously you can, I'm just saying it's not going to really end up well for you, because you're not going to know what you changed caused what. So use one variable per test: angle, the list, the subject line, call to action, a lot of stuff I mentioned. Follow-ups also matter. A lot of people ignore it, but like 50 to 70% of the meetings come from the step 2 to step 4 in the thread. So just make sure you're sending out follow-ups, which add value, by the way. They don't just bump. I'll explain more about follow-ups in a bit. But bonus, just build out a spreadsheet to track the campaigns like this, or just use the one I've shown you. Okay, then score each and retest best performers with new subject lines or lead sources. Each angle a new lane to pull meetings from, and treat your campaigns like a stock portfolio, and just don't bet all your eggs in one basket, all on one message. Follow up the meeting engine. So this is what I mentioned previously, is follow-ups are key, but if you're doing them wrong, it's not going to matter. Like, a lot of people are just doing follow-ups and just expecting like book a ton of calls to just saying like, hey, bumping this, hey, have you seen this, right? Obviously that's not going to work, because people don't care. The reason they haven't responded to you is because you haven't given enough information to do so. So you want to send a message which is not just a, hey, let me get back to you, or hey, have you seen my, you know, resource? You want to do something that is actually adding value, or is a new positioning. So let me show you. So instead of doing just checking in, add new proof, use this same strategy with X company and booked 8 calls in 3 days. Use a new insight. Most opt heads miss this 12K a month mistake. Here's how you can spot it. Scarcity. Booking the next 2 projects this week keeps a slot open. Loop. Just added competitor to the pipeline. Want to peek at the teardown. This is quite good. This works really well. Really good messages are coming from example like this. Follow up cadence: 2 day, 3 day, 5 day, 7 day, 10 day, and then stop. Or, you know, if you want to continue 12 day and 15 to 14 day, you want to do 7 like we are, but minimum just send like 4 or 5 angles, and then you should be good. And again, just avoid the just checking in type thing. It's just not even worth sending, right? Okay, so systemize booking or die in the inbox. If you're manually replying and hoping they grab your link, you're burning your time. So instead of doing that, basically there's like 7-8 things you can do. Reply frameworks. I'm pretty much sure you're familiar with these, but you know, you can just create responses for the most common replies. That's quite simple. It's like a Rolodex. Like, for example, you know, just create one for price, create one for booking a call, create one for every scenario you can think of, and then just use that. It just saves you a ton of time. Another thing you could do is just sequencer plus GPT. You can auto draft replies to common objections. So you can use GPT or any AI tool to just take the reply framework into account and just put it into the sequencer. Quite simple. Sequencer conditional logic. Drop a case study, Loom schedule, if keyword matches. Like, for example, you can do this in a lot of sequencer. If someone mentions let's chat, you know, it's automatically going to send them a reply draft about booking a call. VA, inbox, SOP, I would say use this. Quite simple, just train a VA to inbox manage. Calendly questions, Zapier. Something that's worth a shot is AI reply management tools. You can try a few of these. The others are way easier to implement, and these cost generally like a few $100 a month. But for that amount of money, you can basically hire a VA who's going to do it manually, and I would say much more reliably. So that's why we didn't really dive that much deeper into it. But I've seen a lot of people succeed with these. If you're doing lower volume, it could be worth a shot. So every minute saved just gives you more calls. Like, if you think about it, if you can reply to someone within like 5 minutes, that is going to drastically increase the conversion rates. Okay, some final words to give you, some final tips. Basically, just to summarize the whole system, you don't need a better copy, you need a better system in general. your market, your angle, your reply routing, your call to action, your follow-up engine, your booking automation, everything needs to be just that much more consistent and that much more robust. So this is how you go from 5 replies a day and booking 1 call a week to 300 calls a month. This doc is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a ton of stuff we didn't even touch on, like lead source layering, offer specific reply routing, AI inbox assistance, advanced follow-up logic, deal dash structures. It's all built inside and working live inside Scaling Room. So if you're ready to plug that stack into your own system, it's here. Here's a link to do it. If not, you still got basically everything covered to need to get started with this. So let's go back to this and let's get your account flooded, and I'll see you in the next one.